Hello everyone, and welcome back to your daily English dose. Today we're going on an incredible adventure, traveling back in time to a land of magic carpets, genies, and hidden treasures. Get ready to be enchanted by a classic tale that has captivated people for centuries. We're going to dive into the first part of the story of Aladdin. This version is free from copyright, so you can enjoy the story while improving your English listening and reading skills. So sit back, relax, and let's begin our magical journey into the mysterious city of Agrabah. Long ago in the city of Sina, there lived a poor tailor named Mustafa. Mustafa had a wife and one son whom they called Aladdin. The tailor was a very good and hardworking man, but sadly his son was a lazy boy who spent all his time playing with other lazy children in the streets. When he was old enough to learn a trade, he refused, saying he hated the idea. His parents were at a loss, not knowing what to do with him. Still, his father, Mustafa, decided to try to make him a tailor. One day, he brought Aladdin into his workshop and tried to teach him, but Aladdin just laughed and made fun of him. When his father wasn't looking, he quickly ran away. His parents ran after him, but Aladdin was so fast they couldn't find him. "Oh, what can I do with this lazy boy?" Mustafa despaired. Soon after, from worrying so much about his son, he became sick and died. After that, Aladdin's mother sold the few tailoring tools they had and started spinning thread to make a living. One day, while Aladdin was playing with the other lazy boys in town, a tall, dark-skinned old man appeared and watched him closely. When the game was over, the old man called Aladdin over and asked, "What is your name?" He seemed very kind, but he was actually a magician from Africa. "My name is Aladdin," he answered, wondering who the man was. "And what was your father's name?" the magician asked. "My father's name was Mustafa. He was a tailor, but he died a long time ago," Aladdin replied. The evil magician said, "Ah, he was my brother. You are my nephew. I am your uncle, and I've been traveling abroad for a long time." He then hugged Aladdin tightly. "Hurry home and tell your mother I'm coming to see her. And please, give her this and tell her it's a small gift," he said, pressing 5 gold coins into Aladdin's hand. Aladdin rushed home and told his mother about the man he said was his uncle. His mother said, "That must be a mistake. You don't have an uncle." But when she saw the gold coins he had given Aladdin, she thought that perhaps the old man was a relative after all. So she prepared the best meal she could and waited for him to arrive. Soon, the African magician came, bringing many rare fruits and delicious sweets as gifts. "Tell me about my poor deceased brother. Show me where he always sat," the magician asked Aladdin and his mother. His mother showed him the long bench where Mustafa used to sit. The magician knelt before it, crying and kissing the bench. This made Aladdin's mother believe that he truly was her husband's brother. She was even more convinced when she saw how lovingly he treated Aladdin. "Is he working yet?" the magician asked Aladdin. "Oh, it's so shameful," his mother said, wringing her hands. "He just plays in the streets and hasn't started anything yet." Aladdin looked down in embarrassment as his uncle stared at him. "He must find a job," the magician said to his mother. Then he turned to Aladdin and asked, "What kind of business would you like to have?" "I am thinking of opening a fine goods store for you." Hearing this, Aladdin was overjoyed. The next day, the man who said he was his uncle bought Aladdin a beautiful set of clothes. Aladdin put them on and was taken by his uncle to see the whole city. The day after that, the magician took Aladdin out again. This time, they walked through a beautiful garden and out into the countryside. They walked for a long time, and Aladdin began to get tired. But the magician gave him delicious sweets and fruits and told him one fascinating story after another, so he didn't feel the fatigue as much. Finally, they came to a deep valley between 2 mountains. The magician stopped there. "Ah, we've finally arrived. First, let's build a fire. Go and pick up some dry branches," he told Aladdin. Aladdin quickly went and returned with his arms full of branches. The magician lit them, and they soon began to burn brightly. The old man took out some strange powder from his pocket. He muttered something to himself and sprinkled it on the fire. Immediately, the ground began to shake, and the earth in front of them split open. A large, square, flat stone appeared. There was a ring attached to the top of the stone. Aladdin was scared and tried to run home, but the magician wouldn't let him. He grabbed Aladdin by the collar and pulled him back. "Uncle, why are you doing this to me?" Aladdin cried, looking up at him. "Be quiet and do as I say. There is treasure under this stone. I am going to share it with you. So just do as I say, and it will be revealed soon," the magician said. When Aladdin heard the word treasure, he forgot all his fear and became excited. He did as the magician told him and placed his hands on the ring on the stone. The stone lifted easily. "Aladdin, look, you see the stone stairs going down? When you get to the bottom of the stairs, there are 3 large rooms. You must walk through them, but be careful not to let your clothes touch the walls. If you do, you will die instantly. After you get through the rooms, there is a fruit garden. Go through it, and at the end, there is a cave. Inside, a lamp is lit. Take the lamp, pour out the oil, and bring it to me." As he spoke, the magician put a magic ring on Aladdin's finger, saying it was a charm. He then ordered Aladdin to go in at once. Aladdin went down just as the magician had told him. Everything was exactly as the magician had described. Aladdin walked through the 3 large rooms and the fruit garden until he came to the lamp. He picked up the lamp, poured out the oil, and carefully put it in his pocket. Then he looked around. Aladdin had never seen such a magnificent fruit garden, not even in his dreams. The fruits were all different beautiful colors, and it looked like a rainbow. Some were clear like crystal, and others were bright red, sparkling like fire. There were also green, blue, purple, and orange ones, and the leaves were all made of gold and silver. These fruits were actually diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and sapphires, but Aladdin didn't realize it. Still, they were so beautiful that he picked some and put them in his pockets on his way back. When Aladdin finally reached the bottom of the stairs, the magician on the surface was anxiously waiting, staring down. As Aladdin began to climb the stairs, he reached out his hand and said, "Hurry, give me the lamp. Please wait until I get out. I'll give it to you as soon as I'm out." "I can't reach you from here," Aladdin replied. "Lift your hand higher and you can reach me. Come on, hurry," the old man shouted angrily. "I'll give it to you once I'm completely out," Aladdin repeated. The magician, frustrated, stomped his foot. He threw some strange powder into the fire, muttering to himself. The stone immediately slid back into place, and the way out was blocked. Aladdin was trapped underground in the darkness. Now it was clear that the old man was not Aladdin's uncle. The magician had used his powers to find the lamp all the way from Africa. It was a very special lamp, and you will understand why as the story continues. However, the magician could not get the lamp himself. Someone else had to get it for him. That was why he had followed Aladdin. He had planned to kill Aladdin once he got the lamp. But his plan failed completely, so the magician went back to Africa. He didn't come back to Sina for a very long time. Meanwhile, Aladdin, trapped underground, looked for an escape route. He went to the 3 rooms and the fruit garden, but there was no way to get back to the surface. For 2 days, Aladdin cried. He thought he was going to die down there. He clenched his hands together tightly. That's when he accidentally touched the magic ring the magician had given him. Suddenly, a giant genie appeared from the floor and stood before Aladdin. "What is your wish, master? I am the servant of this ring. I must do whatever you command," the genie said. Aladdin was so happy he almost jumped. "You'll do anything I say? Good! Then get me out of this terrible place right now." Immediately, the path to the surface opened up. In a flash, he was back at his own front door. His mother was overjoyed to see him and cried tears of happiness. Aladdin hugged his mother and kissed her over and over. He tried to tell her everything that had happened, but he was starving. "Mother, please give me something to eat. I'm so hungry I feel like I'm going to die," Aladdin said. His mother replied, "I know, my dear, but I'm afraid there's nothing left in the house except for a little bit of wool. Wait a minute, I'll go sell it and buy us some food." But Aladdin said, "Mother, wait. I have a better idea. Instead of selling the wool, sell this lamp I brought back." He took out the lamp. The lamp was very old and covered in dust. His mother thought that if she cleaned it a little, it would sell for more. But as soon as she began to rub the lamp, a huge black genie appeared from the floor. Its body swayed like smoke, and its head reached the ceiling as it looked down at them. "What is your wish? I am the servant of the lamp. I must obey the one who holds me," the genie said. When Aladdin's mother saw the genie, she fainted from fear. Aladdin quickly grabbed the lamp from her hand and held it tightly, trembling. "Just bring me a little something to eat," Aladdin said, still shaking, as the terrifying genie stared down at him from the ceiling. At that moment, the genie of the lamp vanished in a puff of smoke. But it reappeared just as quickly, carrying a magnificent feast on a golden plate. By this time, Aladdin's mother had come too, but she was too scared to eat the feast. She begged Aladdin to sell the lamp, thinking the genie would surely do something evil. But Aladdin just laughed at her fear. He told her that he now understood how to use the magic lamp and the wondrous ring, and that from now on, he would use them to help them live well. They sold the golden plate and got the money they needed. When they used it all up, Aladdin told the genie of the lamp to bring them more. This is how the mother and son lived happily for many, many years. Now, in the city where Aladdin lived, there was a king who had a very beautiful princess. Aladdin had heard rumors about her and wanted to see her. He tried to think of ways to get a glimpse of her, but none of his ideas seemed to work. This was because the princess always wore a thick veil whenever she went out. But one day, Aladdin managed to get into the king's palace. He looked through a crack in a door and saw the princess as she was going to the bath. From that moment on, Aladdin couldn't forget the princess's beautiful face. He fell so deeply in love with her that he couldn't bear it. She was as beautiful as a summer dawn. When he returned home, he said to his mother, "Mother, I've finally seen the princess! Mother, I want to marry the princess! Mother, please go to the king's palace right away and ask him to give me the princess's hand in marriage." His mother laughed at her son's absurd wish and was also worried that he had gone crazy, but Aladdin kept begging until his mother finally said yes. The next day, she took the magic fruits as a gift for the king, wrapped them in a napkin, and reluctantly went to the palace. Many people had gathered at the palace to present their requests. Aladdin's mother felt too small and shy to step forward and make her own request. No one even noticed her. She went to the palace every day, and finally, after a week, the king noticed her. He asked his minister, "Who is that woman? She comes every day with a white bundle." The minister told Aladdin's mother to come before the king. She stepped forward a little and then knelt on the ground. Aladdin's mother was so in awe of the king that she couldn't say anything. But the king seemed so kind that she finally found the courage to ask for the princess's hand for her son, Aladdin. Then she said, "This is a gift from Aladdin to the king," and took the magic fruits out of the napkin and offered them. The people around her gasped in surprise, for they had never seen such magnificent fruits in their lives. The fruit shimmered and glowed so brightly that they were almost dazzling to look at. The king was also amazed. He called his minister into another room and said, "A man who can give a gift this wonderful deserves my daughter, don't you think?" However, the minister had long wanted his own son to marry the princess, so he said, "Don't be so quick to promise her, Your Majesty. Tell her to wait for about 3 months." The king thought this was a good idea, so he told Aladdin's mother that if she waited 3 months, he would give his daughter to her son. When Aladdin heard that he could marry the princess, he thought he was the luckiest man alive. The days flew by like arrows. But one evening, 2 months later, there was a great commotion in the city. Aladdin asked someone what was happening. The person told him that the princess was marrying the minister's son that very night. Aladdin's face turned red with anger. He immediately went home, took out the magic lamp, and rubbed it. The genie appeared at once and asked what he could do. "Go to the king's palace and bring the princess and the minister's son here right now," Aladdin commanded. In a flash, the genie went to the palace and brought the two of them back. Then Aladdin ordered, "Take the minister's son out of this house and make him wait outside until morning." The princess was scared and trembling, but Aladdin told her not to be afraid, and that he was her true fiancé. Early the next morning, as Aladdin had commanded, the genie brought the minister's son back into the house. Then he took both the princess and the minister's son back to the palace. Soon after, the king entered the princess's room to say good morning. He found the princess crying and the minister's son trembling. "What's wrong?" the king asked, but the princess just cried and didn't say a word. That night, Aladdin commanded the genie to do the same thing again. He brought the two of them back and made the minister's son stand outside the house. The next day, the king saw the princess crying again and became very angry, and because she still wouldn't say anything, he became even angrier. "Stop crying and tell me what happened. If you don't, I will kill you," he scolded. The princess finally told him everything that had happened since the night before. The minister's son, trembling, begged the king to let him out of the marriage. He said he would not go through another night like that. And so, the wedding was canceled, and all the celebrations were called off. When the promised 3 months had finally passed, Aladdin's mother went before the king. the king remembered his promise to give the princess to the woman's son. "I will keep my word," the king said, "but the man who marries my daughter must send me 40 gold plates piled high with jewels. These must be carried by 40 black slaves, and they must be led by 40 white slaves wearing splendid clothes like the king's servants." Aladdin's mother was troubled and went home to tell Aladdin the king's demand. "Aladdin, that's impossible to do," she sighed. But Aladdin said confidently, "No, mother, it's not impossible. I will show the king that I can do exactly as he says." He then rubbed the magic lamp. When the genie appeared, he commanded him to bring the 40 plates piled high with jewels and the slaves the king had asked for. Then, the magnificent procession made its way through the city to the palace. All the people in the city came out to watch. They were all amazed when they saw the black slaves carrying the golden plates piled with jewels on their heads. At the palace, the slaves presented the jewels to the king. The king was very surprised, but also very pleased. He immediately said that Aladdin and the princess should be married at once. When Aladdin's mother returned home and told him this, Aladdin said he could not go to the palace right away. He called the genie of the lamp again and commanded him to bring a perfumed bath, clothes embroidered with gold like the king's, 40 slaves to serve him, 6 slaves to serve his mother, a horse more beautiful than the king's, and 10 purses, each with 10,000 gold coins. Once all these things were ready, Aladdin changed his clothes and headed for the palace. As he rode his magnificent horse with the 40 slaves, he took handfuls of gold coins from the 10 purses and threw them to the crowds on both sides of the street. The people screamed with joy as they scrambled to pick them up, but no one realized that this man was the same lazy boy who used to play in the streets. They thought he must be a prince from another country. When Aladdin arrived at the palace in such a grand manner, the king immediately came out to greet him and embraced him. He then told his servants to prepare a celebratory feast and the wedding. But Aladdin said, "Your Majesty, please wait a moment. I cannot get married until I have built a palace for the princess to live in." He then went home and called the genie of the lamp once more. He commanded him, "Build the most magnificent palace in the world. It must be made of marble, green stone, and jewels. In the center, there must be a grand hall with 24 walls and windows of gold and silver. And these windows must be decorated with diamonds, rubies, and other jewels. But leave one window without any decoration. Also, build stables and fill the palace with many slaves. Do all this, and do it quickly." The next morning, Aladdin awoke to find a palace that seemed to be the most magnificent in the world. The marble walls of the palace glowed a soft pink in the morning sun. The windows sparkled with jewels. Aladdin immediately went to the palace with his mother. He asked the king to hold the wedding today. The princess saw Aladdin and decided she would be happy with him. The whole city celebrated the wedding with great joy. The next day, the king visited Aladdin's new palace. He first went into the great hall and was so impressed by the walls of gold and silver and the jewel-decorated windows. He said, "This must be the most beautiful palace in the world. Even a single item in this palace seems like the greatest treasure in the world. But why is there one window that isn't decorated?" Aladdin replied, "Your Majesty, I left it that way so that your noble hands could decorate it." The king was overjoyed. He immediately ordered his decorators to make the window just like the others. The decorators worked for many days. But before they had even finished half of the decoration, they had used up all the jewels they had. They told the king, and he said they could use all his jewels. But even after they used all of the king's jewels, the window still wasn't finished. So Aladdin told the decorators to stop and returned all of the king's jewels. That night, he called the genie of the lamp again. The window was finished before dawn. The king and the decorators were completely astonished. But Aladdin never showed off his wealth. He was kind and polite to everyone. He was especially kind to the poor. Everyone loved him. Aladdin also went to war for the king many times and achieved great victories. He became the king's favorite subject. And that's where we'll leave our hero for today. Will Aladdin find a way to escape from the dark cave? What will happen to the magical lamp? The adventure is just beginning. Join us next time for the thrilling conclusion in part 2. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the end of the story. See you soon!